Alrighty, well, good afternoon and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Andrew Doffany. I'm the Instruction and Outreach Librarian at the New Jersey State Library, and I'm proud to present our speaker for today, the library's own genealogy librarian, Regina Fitzpatrick. For those of you who have attended our programs before, Regina has a wealth of knowledge and is eager to share what she knows with the greater community. So today we are going to be talking about electronic resources for genealogy, specifically things that we have access to here at the library or things that you can access from home. Um, so before we jump into our presentation, I have a few housekeeping items to go over. First and foremost, we will be taking your questions at the end of our presentation, but please feel free to submit them at any time using the Q&A or the chat feature. If you do have a question that is personal, that requires detailed personal information about individuals, or it's very specific to an individual, we won't be answering those questions here today, just given the depth of the topic and the amount of questions that people will probably be submitting. Those are better fielded directly to Regina, and she'll post her contact information and she'll be able to help you directly in that instance. There is a copy of the slides that will be uploaded as a handout to the chat. You'll be able to download it from there once we get underway. If you have any problems downloading the handout, don't worry, it'll be available in a follow-up email as an attachment. There is a survey available at the end of the webinar, so we ask if you have time, please complete the survey. We always appreciate your feedback. And if you're looking for more information related to genealogy, electronic resources, Regina curates a fantastic research guide available at the web address on the screen there. And again, once we get underway, we'll post a live link in the chat so you have access to that. One last thing I want to go over is just the Zoom dashboard in case you may not be familiar. This is what your dashboard should look like if you're using a PC or a Mac. If you're using a mobile device, the dashboard may look a little bit different, but all of the features will still be there. In the bottom left-hand corner, you will see your audio settings. So if you're using an external listening device like a headset or earbuds, you can check to make sure that is connected properly there. At any point during the presentation, if you run any issues, there's a raise hand button in the middle. You can click on that. That'll alert me, and I will send you a message in Zoom and hopefully be able to resolve any problems that you are having. And as I mentioned before, if you do have any questions, you can use the Q&A or the chat buttons. Either one, those will get sent to us, and again, we'll be addressing them at the end of Regina's presentation. So that is everything that I have for you, so I'm going to turn it over to Regina now.
Thank you, Andrew. Everybody, if you can't hear me, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to plow ahead because we have a lot to cover. Unfortunately, I did my best to squeeze this presentation down into an hour, but because of explanation and, providing context, it is going to be a little bit longer than an hour. We are recording today, so if you do have to leave early, you're not going to offend me, and you can go back and watch what you missed. As Andrew said, we're going to be reviewing electronic resources for genealogy today. And we are just going to dive in. So we're going to be reviewing 4 great resources, 3 of which you can access 24/7 from home. These 4 resources are the New Jersey State Archives databases page, Ancestry Library Edition, Heritage Quest, and FamilySearch.org. Now, remember, you are getting these slides as a handout, so you're going to be able to read through all of this. I'm skipping some of what I say in the interest of time. Ancestry Library Edition is the only one that likely you are not going to have remote access to. So you will have to go to your local public library to use Ancestry Library Edition. The other 3 probably, well, 2 definitely, the State Archives database and Family Search, you will be able to access from home. Heritage Quest, you almost certainly will be, but you can always check with your local public library. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover some talking points because there are specific things that I really want to highlight for you today. And excuse me. Also, if my voice goes a little bit and I have to pause and take a drink, I apologize in advance. I have my tea sitting right next to me. I'm going to try to give you as basic of an overview as I possibly can. So we're spending a lot more time demoing than we are talking about the resource. And I'm going to try to just spend 10 to 15 minutes. What I found when I rehearsed both of them, I was having technical issues with one of our resources. Andrew confirmed my technical issues. So I I'll just let you know what I was having trouble with so that you are aware and you're not caught unawares when you log into this resource and you have the same issues. Um, and the final thing is 3 of these resources are non-New Jersey specific. However, this is the New Jersey State Library. I am an expert on New Jersey research, so I'm going to be using a lot of New Jersey examples. What I want to say right off the bat is you can use my logic for a New Jersey search and apply it to another place. So let's dive right in. Also, I want to say too that if I go a little bit too fast, or if you miss something, or if you see something interesting in a resource that you would like to see and explore more thoroughly in the Q&A, I'm happy to do that. We're not going to be doing like personal demos, like Andrew said, but if you want more information about a feature, please feel free to ask about that in the Q&A. I am happy to go back and explore things a little bit further after I get my essentials that I want to show you that I think is really useful. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to get the New Jersey specific resource done and out of the way first. This is the only resource that is only going to apply to those of you that are doing exclusively New Jersey research. And these are the databases that are available from the New Jersey State Archives. What I do want to say to those of you who are not doing New Jersey specific resource, and this is research, this is important. Every state and every county and every municipality in the United States is completely unique in how they are organized, the names of the offices where their different record types are going to be stored, who owns what, and what has been digitized, unfortunately. We are going to be reviewing, as our very last thing in this presentation today, the Family Search Wiki. That's a great resource for finding out what is available where if you are not doing New Jersey specific research. For the purposes of New Jersey research, if you are doing state level genealogy, the records collections for state level genealogy collections are largely held by the New Jersey State Archives. And this is why this is such an important resource for New Jersey collections. So the state archives databases allow you to search indexed collections from the New Jersey State Archives. Among others, these are marriage and death indexes, military indexes, deeds, and court records. Many of these state level collections here in New Jersey, and remember, this varies state to state, place to place, most of these records in New Jersey are not digitized. But through these indexed, which are hand indexed by archive staff, and hi, I used to work over there, so I've worked on some of these indexes. They are hand indexed, they are pulled from original indexes, and so they are highly accurate, and they took a lot of blood, sweat, tears, and leather rot. Personal experience right here with that. But the nice thing is they are up online and you are able to order copies of records right from the databases. Although the archive staff was not able to index every single collection that they own, they do realize that there are many collections that are very popular and frequently used. So for those collections that did not have indexes, they put up order forms right on the same page. So you can order records that do not have an online index available right from this page as well. They're more complete digital collections are also linked from this page at the bottom of the page. And then finally, I just want to tell you that the archives does have additional records available. but they don't have a presence on this page because they're less frequently used. So if you are interested in a records collection that you don't see on this page, you can email the email address that I have on this slide for more information and to ask any questions you have. So with that, let us go to the database page and let's see if it actually comes up or not. Yes, and here it is loading. I don't know why my Wi-Fi is being so slow today. What I found during both of my rehearsals for this is that if I leave the sites up too long, they get a little bit glitchy. So I'm going to navigate to all of these when they're fresh and new so that hopefully we will not have any technical issues. Remember, there is one of these that I am having routine technical issues with, and I'm going to just give you a heads up on that when we go into that database, just so you're aware and you're not surprised when you try to access. But this is not this page. This page is working perfectly fine. So this is the database page for the New Jersey State Archives. There are linked images here, so you can click and navigate right to this section, but you can see it's not a very long page, so it's easy just to scroll through. Most people who are doing New Jersey research are interested in vital records, that is birth, marriage, and death records. The state archives has several marriage and death records on their page. I know there is a rumor they are working on getting a birth record database out there, but I do not have any information on when that might possibly be coming. So, as I mentioned, the searchable databases are on the left-hand side of the page, and then the order forms where you can order records are on the right. I'm going to click on one of the order forms just to show you what it looks like. But first, if you scroll up, you'll see they have information and instructions. The most important instruction is right here. And that is not to use your back button when you're in the databases or the order forms. So I just want everybody aware of that. And I'm going to show you how to navigate in just 1 second. So this is just what a order form looks like. You would put in the name of your groom, the name of your bride, any information that you have here, and then you would click add to cart to order the records request search, and you can read the information about this collection and how to order from it and the cost all here. So as we mentioned, we do not go here. We use this thread here to navigate back and forth. So we click here to go back to the database page. The records collections index fields are customized to the information that is available in each collection. Unfortunately, I don't believe that any of the vital records information, with one exception, are digitized at all. Recently, Ancestry Library Edition has partnered with the state archives to digitize the May of 1848 to May of 1878 only New Jersey vital records. So we are going to be looking at those later when we go into Ancestry Library. The indexes here, though, do not provide links out to Ancestry. They do not link to any digital index images that the archives might have of these vital records here. So you will not be able to get digital copies from the vital records indexes. Now, we are going to look at the early land records database, and I'm going to show you how to find digitized records in certain collections. But as far as I am aware, you're only going to get index entries here, and your option is to than to order the record. So if you are looking for a vital record outside of May of 1848 to May of 1878, this is where you order. Be aware that if your ancestor does have a vital record, it's now up on Ancestry and it falls into that May of 1848, May of 1878 time period. I will say that these vital records indexes are good if you do go to Ancestry and you're looking for a May of 1878 or May of 1848 to May of 1878 record and you don't find it, you can search this because remember, I said leather rot all over my hands. Like we copied this stuff from the original indexes. And what's nice is that over time, when as archives staff members are finding mistakes, they're going back and updating and correcting these indexes. So maybe for whatever reason, something was missed on Ancestry, but you can still verify whether or not there's a vital record for your ancestor using these indexes if you don't find it in the digital records. So that's what I would say. I just want to go in here real quick. Again, we have all of the database information on the top. As I said before, the information is index specific to the fields that that were available in the index. And I want to go back because I actually meant to click on, there we go. I meant to click on the other death records index. And I'm just going to show you for a lot of what we are going to be doing today. Whoops. Oh, that's right. One of the other things is don't use special characters in this index on the archives page. You can on Ancestry, Family Search, and Heritage Quest, but not here. So if you know your ancestor had a middle initial or you want it searched, especially if they had a really common name, make sure that you don't put punctuation after middle initial. Okay, so we are going to search. Oops. Why aren't you coming up now? Oh, because I did it backwards, because I have Ancestry and Family Search brain right now. I'm sorry, everyone. Let's try that. And then our friend is going to come up. I wanted to show you our friend John S. Applegate, who died in Middletown Township on April 11th, 1885, because we are going to be following him when we go into Ancestry and Family Search. He died at age 43 and a half, roughly. It's a little scary because that's how old I am. So fingers crossed for me. But we're going to try to follow him and see what we can find out about him. So you could order his death record from the New Jersey State Archives. Okay. And then just very quickly, the other thing I want to show you two more things on this page. We're going to go into the early land records because this collection, and again, you can read the collection description at the top, any instructions here. You can see the early land records collections covers from the mid 17th century all the way up to the 20th century, which is pretty impressive. But what is exciting is archive staff is working to digitize many of these records. So I just want to show you very quickly how to locate in the results a digitized image versus not. And then you can see these two records are digitized. You don't have the option of ordering this item because you can just get the PDF for free from here. So if you were doing early land records research, or if you had a colonial ancestor, highly advise looking into this and Supreme Court case files. because archive staff have started to digitize these. And you can see we get this beautiful PDF copy. We can zoom in so we can read the lovely late 17th century handwriting. We can scroll through and we have the option to download this record and save it for on our computer, which is really fantastic. So that's how you recognize. Now, when an item has not yet been digitized, you'll see the citation here. So this particular record, um, which is a letter from Lewis Morris from August 1735. It's recorded in Book M on page 352. And it has not been digitized, so we could order this particular record. You can see that in some cases, archive staff work to transcribe records. I worked extensively on the early land records. I was transcribing Mysterious Book M. So what we are, and the reason that I say that is it was a bunch of land records just all related to Lewis Morris, and it all kept coming back to him, and it was really weird. So archive staff, and what you're probably looking at right here is my work, worked very hard to abstract, read, and provide a nice summary of what is going to be included in this particular record. So then you, the purchaser, can decide if you really need a copy or if you have enough information from this. And the Supreme Court case files is also like this. There are a few other collections. Revolutionary War damage claim has some abstracting in it. The Civil War payment vouchers have some. So archive staff worked very hard on these indexes to try to create a little bit of value to researchers, and so that they can get some context before they decide whether or not they're interested in books. And then or in certain records. I just want to show you one final thing on this site, and then we are going to move on. As I mentioned, although many of the records collections you might see listed up here are not digitized or not completely digitized, there are links to complete digitized collections down below. Many of these are photograph collections, but there are also all kinds of imaged collections. And I'm just going to show you very quickly the imaged collections page. They are organized by topics, so you can click through. We have a mixture of photographs, such as a Civil War carte de visite, and manuscript records, such as the USCT service files, which are manuscripts. So I just wanted you to be aware of this page, that it is here, and complete digital collections are available from the New Jersey State Archives, and you are welcome to explore this page on your own. Okay, so that is our first resource. Our second resource is going to be Ancestry Library. But first, we are going to talk a little bit about this, and I'm going to try to be very brief because we are going to be spending some time in Ancestry Library, because I know a lot of people use this. So the New Jersey specific portion of the program is over. Ancestry has millions of records from all over the world. I will say specifically for New Jersey, the only vital records, the only state civil vital records that are digitized are available on Ancestry, and they are the New Jersey's earliest vital records from May of 1848 to May of 1878. And we'll be looking at these. As I mentioned before, because of remote licensing costs, many public libraries and many institutions that have the Ancestry Library Edition do not offer remote licensing. So you cannot access this from home. You have to go in person to your local public library or institution in order to use this. Obviously, if you have purchased your own Ancestry.com account, that is something different. You have 24/7 access from home, and you have some bells and whistles that we don't have, like the ability to store records, to build family trees that are pertinent to an individual researcher. Because Ancestry Library Edition is for institutions, it's meant to be used for many different people. So these individualized features are not available. So the two big things I want to go over today are using the card catalog, because I think many people, just because it's easy to go into that general name search, they get tons of noise and it gets really frustrating. I like using the specific records collections and their individual name search interfaces rather than the general search. And I'm going to show you how to navigate to those using the card catalog. So when you are doing a card catalog search, just to be very, very clear, you are not putting your ancestor's name in there. You're putting in the name of a place or a collection type that you're trying to find your ancestor in. So rather than putting in John Truman, into the card catalog title search, you would put in, well, I want to find my ancestor John Truman on the 1905 New Jersey State Census. So you might search 1905 New Jersey State Census instead. Then once you find that collection and you click on it, there's a name search within that specific collection. So you're searching a specific collection rather than just searching all of Ancestry Library for your ancestor. And to me, this is really fantastic because it eliminates noise in search results, and I can determine very quickly whether or not my person of interest has information in a particular collection or not. Few collections I just very briefly want to show you are the federal censuses and how you navigate to those, and city directories. I want to show you the browse features on city directories. And then I want to make sure that you know how to do a good general search in Ancestry Library Edition. I do still use the general search, but usually I'll go into the collections via the card catalog first, see what I can find specifically there. And then if I'm not finding what I want, I'll go into the general search and I'll use a bunch of their advanced features. And that's what I just want you to make sure that you know where those are. So let us go in here. So of course, big and prominent right here, you click begin searching. I don't know why my computer is being so slow today. It was not being this slow before. And you're given this screen, and a brand new researcher is just going to fill in this information and click search. And probably, especially if their ancestor had a very common name, they are going to be absolutely overwhelmed. So what I suggest instead is using the card catalog, and you can get to the card catalog. Whoops. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm using my touchpad on my laptop right now, and it's very finicky about where I click and what it thinks I'm like right clicking or left clicking. So you can either click on the card catalog here, or what I just like to do is I just like to click new collections. And all this does is it loads the list of the latest added records collections to Ancestry Library Edition. But what we are going to do is we are going to do a title search. However, first, I want to just very quickly show you that down at the bottom of the screen, they do have topical related searches for you down here. Um, again, I would probably not go right to these, although it does narrow the field a little bit more. I like looking at the individual collections. To me, that is much preferable. But what I wanted to show you, because many people come on here doing census research, and for the record, I much preferred the screen that they had before the 1950s that was just right on this homepage, and you could click on each individual census. Instead, you have to go in here, and annoyingly, it only shows the censuses up to 1930, even though we know that 1940 and 1950 are available. And I tried clicking view all in card catalog. Oh, I forgot to tell you this. Um, this is another technical glitch. Watch what happens. So it does not give you a listing of all the censuses in here. What you can do, though, is you can click on the individual 1930 census and just go in and get the name search screen here. So if you know that you are doing specific 19 or specific US population schedule census research, I would recommend using this. You are able to search across all census using this field. You can also click on individual. And I can't remember if this gave me trouble too. Yes, it did give me trouble. So that is not working either. But this was not the database that I was talking about. It's Heritage Quest. So we're getting some technical glitches with some of these search things. Um, so to me, this is less useful and convenient, but it's still nice to be able to get to the majority of the census from here. For 1940 and 1950, if you wanted to search one of those two censuses specifically, you can still search them individually in the card catalog and they will come up. In the interest of time, though, I am not going to do that. I just wanted to show you where you could find the census, how you can search overall, and then how you can navigate to the individual ones. So they're all listed here, except for 1940 and 1950, which you will have to search then in the card catalog, but that's very easy to do once you know how to do it. So again, we want to do a search in the card catalog. Remember when we were on the archives page, I said we were going to follow our friend John S. Applegate. So we're going to use him as our example. But remember, we are not putting his name in here. This is to find specific collections for us to search where he might be. So we know that he was in New Jersey. We found him on the State Archives website. We know when he died. We know that he was in Middletown in Monmouth County. So we could try Monmouth County, but honestly, because I know what I want to look for, I can click on New Jersey in the title, and that will give me a bunch of different collections that are going to cover the entire state. And the first thing I want to show you is what these May of 1848 to May of 1878 vital records look like. Now, for those of you who are not doing New Jersey specific research, I would advise still searching on a place name because the state your ancestor came from or the country may have digitized their vital records, that is birth, marriage, and death records as well. So you could have a lot more selection uh, than the state of New Jersey currently does available for you. The vital records may look different. Maybe in some cases, some enterprising soul collected a bunch of church records. So they collected enough that there's a very comprehensive collection of church records that dates back well into the colonial era in New England in some cases. And then other places that really only started collecting vital records in the late 19th or early 20th century. So there's a whole range. We are really lucky here in New Jersey, but I just want to show you what this looks like, John S. And remember, in Ancestry, you can use punctuation, unlike the state archives databases. Okay, Applegate. And we know he was 43 when he died, so he was probably born in 1841 or 1842. I'm not going to put an exact date, but we know that he was in Monmouth County, New Jersey. So we are going to put that in. And we know that he is a man. So let's just see what we get. And I'm going to warn you in advance because I've run this search before. There are many people who could be R. John S. Applegate. We can see we are getting some noise and that this jumps around. So what we are going to do is we are going to narrow this search down. And you can either use these or you can go back and you can edit your entire search here. So I only want to see the John Applegates that lived in Monmouth County. So we're going to apply that. And we've got a few. This is annoying because when I ran this search earlier, I had my 2 John S. marriages right in top. And this one appears lower than it did in my last search. So this is the page we're going to look like, just so those of you who are interested can see what a New Jersey vital record, what an early New Jersey vital record looks like. These were ledger records rather than certificate records. In this case, John S. and his wife Annie Petty were actually married in Middlesex. So this may or may not be our guy. His parents' names are Joseph and Catherine, and hers are Parnell and Mary, it looks like. Unfortunately, it doesn't list an occupation for him. And we will see in just a minute why that disappoints me when we look at the city directories. Give me just 1 minute to get back. Okay. So you see, we have all kinds of records that we could potentially search. I want to note that for New Jerseyans, we do have state censuses, which can be incredibly useful. And depending on what you are looking for, there are several useful collections in here for New Jersey research. You just have to be aware of the time period that you're searching in and have an idea of what you want to find. You could add on to this. You may not get an exact match in the title, and then in that case, you can move down to the keywords and you could do a place name plus a subject like New Jersey Grave Index or something like that and see if that works. But the other thing that I want to show you in here is a specific collection, which I have been using very frequently in the last year. And that's the U.S. City Directories 1822 to 1995 collection. And the reason that I want to show you this, because it's the same, like you can just search a person, but some of the collections on Ancestry have a browse feature that is incredibly useful. And so if we just wanted to check to see if a certain edition of city directory was here, like if we check the census for John Applegate, say in 1880, and hint hint he's there, um, and we know that he is living in Monmouth County and he works as an attorney, maybe we would want to see what kind of Monmouth County directories there were for around 1875 to 1880, or maybe a little bit after, since we know he died in 1885. So we could search him and we could potentially discover where he was living at the time of his death. Now, we don't know that the John Applegate on the 1880 census is 100% our guy. And the reason that I say this is that his birth year is slightly off. He's a few years older, so I think his birth said like 1839, but it could possibly still be him. So at any rate, to use the browse feature, and to be clear, if you were doing city directory research and not looking for an individual, this is also great. This will get you the entire digitized city directory. So for instance, if you were looking up a business or you wanted to use the crisscross directory, you could use this to get to the full text of the city directory. But for our purposes, if we are just trying to look for our ancestor and confirm there will be something of use to make it worthwhile for us to search this collection, this is a really useful tool. So we're going to go to New Jersey. Come on, you can do it. We are going to go to Monmouth County. Remember, it said that on the archives website, it said that John S. Applegate died in Middleton, and there's no listing for Middleton here. So we're going to have to go for Monmouth County. And they've got one directory only, but it's for 1875, which is right in the time period that we want. So let's do John S. Applegate. We're going to do Monmouth County. And we are going to specifically put 1875 because that is the only year. And we are going to make this exact because when I did this search before, I was getting results from the 20th century. I'm only interested in 1875, especially since our guy died in 1885. And from the 1880 census, the one John S. Applegate that I found was a lawyer. So I'm going to put that information in. Remember, it might not be our John S. Applegate necessarily, but it could also be. And look, we have a J.S. Applegate right off the bat. And give this just 1 second. So in 1875, he was living in Red Bank, New Jersey. I can't remember. The 1880, he was living somewhere else. It may have been Middletown, which is why I possibly suspected that it was him. But we could be looking at three completely separate individuals. The name Applegate in Monmouth County is very common. But you can see there he is. We have his business address and his home address as well. So that is pretty cool. So I really like the city directories collection and I found it very useful. And I wanted to make sure that you were aware of the browse feature that you could use to make sure it's going to have coverage for the date you need to find your ancestor and the place you need to find your ancestor. Okay. And then the final thing that I want to do is I want to go back to this search. Goodness. Come on, you can do it. And the reason that I want to go back to the search is I want to make sure that rather than just doing this very basic search, you're always clicking down to put in additional options. We have many additional fields. We know, for instance, that potentially were interested in the John S. Applegate, who was a lawyer. We could put in that his father's name was Joseph based on that one marriage record, although I strongly suspect those are two separate people, but you never know. We know that he died in 1885 in Middletown, Monmouth. So we can put that in. If we feel like it, we can do exact matches. And then let's just see what we get here. So our dear friend who we saw on the archives page comes up right away. Note that the year of his death is wrong. This is because Ancestry and Family Search do not recognize the fiscal year indexing that was used at the time. So they take the first year in the fiscal year and use that. He died in 1885, not 1884. We can see where he is listed on the census. This is the one that has Deborah and says that he's a lawyer and he was living in Shrewsbury at the time. We see more Shrewsbury. Oh, and look, he may have a will. That's pretty cool. And it's got a list of family members, but this is from Middlesex County too. There was a John S. Find a Grave before. Now I'm getting John L., a Civil War soldier. But you can see that we have many options to search in here, and they all seem to be relevant to a John Applegate. Although sometimes the letter varies, the middle initial, we could change some of the parameters here. We could set just specifically to Monmouth County or just specifically to Middletown to try to weed out some of the noise if we wanted to. We could go back, edit our search, and add additional details if we wanted to. Whenever you click edit on these, you always have to click more options to change or update your options. Okay. So that's what I wanted to make sure you knew about. I wanted to make sure you knew how to navigate to the card catalog, that city directories collection, how to get to the censuses, and why it's important to use the more options feature on your general ancestor search in here to eliminate as much noise as possible so that your search results are less overwhelming. So with that, we are going to go into Heritage Quest. We are not going to be spending a lot of time in Heritage Quest. This is the database that I was having a bunch of technical issues with. However, I can still do basically what I want to do, and I can navigate to what I want to show you. So we are still going to review it. This is kind of the sister site to Ancestry. You get access once again through your local public library. Both Ancestry and Heritage Quest are managed by ProQuest, so they have a remarkably similar database interface to search. Again, if you are a New Jersey resident, or you work here in New Jersey and you have a local public library card, you can get access to this resource via Jersey Clicks. I would recommend anybody who's out of state, check with your local public library and see if they subscribe and if you have remote access. The three major collections that I want to make sure that you are aware of on Heritage Quest, which is useful when you can't get into Ancestry Library Edition, are the census, the Rev War pension application files, which are held by the National Archives and have been digitized, and the family histories. I extensively used the family history collection on Heritage Quest when I was diving into my family history up in colonial Massachusetts. So that has been a huge help to me. This is a little bit different than Ancestry. You don't get that general search screen. Instead, you get a list of collections that you can search. So it eliminates an overall search and just has you select a collection that you would like to search directly. Um, this is a lot. The collections on here are different than what you will have access to on Ancestry or Family Search. But if you know going in what you're looking to for, this can be really fantastic. Again, highly recommend using the family histories. Highly recommend using the Rev War collection. And if you don't have access to Ancestry, having access to the census through this is really great. So I just want to show you those three things very quickly. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go to Jersey Clicks and show you how to navigate. If anybody would like me to do that during the Q&A, I am happy to. So here is Heritage Quest. Looks very familiar, doesn't it? But what's interesting is when you click this begin searching, rather than getting that general search interface, you are directed to specific collections. If you click search now, you can, oh, wait, I forgot. That was the error. This is the glitchiness that I'm getting. So it's not taking me to a page where we can just search overall. However, when you click on the individual censuses to search, and just give it 1 minute, it does pull up. And again, this is remarkably similar or the same to what you would see on Ancestry. So you should be very familiar with this search interface by this time. So just be aware, if you do want to use the censuses, click on the individual census that you would like to research rather than clicking search now. Now, for the books, this is not a problem. But what's interesting is when I do a people search, which is how I always traditionally searched my ancestors. Oh, is it going to work now? Nope. No, it's not working. However, you'll notice at the top, you can also search for publications and you can also search for city directories. I want to show you city directories real quick. We're not going to do a search, but notice this does not have the same browse feature as Ancestry does. So just be aware of that. You're not going to have that same functionality that I personally find very useful. But if you can't search by people, you can search by individual publication. And since we're looking for a guy from Monmouth County, John S. Applegate, we are going to do this old Monmouth of ours, which is a famous county history. Those of you who are familiar with Monmouth County will know this. And we can still go in here. And once we are in this individual book, we can search for our ancestor in this particular book. And we are going to search. We can also browse this particular book as well, which is pretty cool. And you can see we get a list of pages. On one of these pages, John S. Applegate is noted, and he was related to the Quartermaster General during the Revolutionary War, which is pretty cool. But that's just an aside. We're not going to, we'll click on a page just so you can see what it looks like, what the interface looks like. It looks remarkably like what you would see on Ancestry. You have the same option to either send this to yourself via email or save to your computer. So I just wanted to show you that real quickly. And then the final thing I want to show you, come on, you can do it, is, let me just go back to Heritage Quest, is if you scroll to the bottom here, they've got the Rev War pension and bounty landborn applications right here. This is the one shining unique feature of Heritage Quest, and I love this particular collection. Come on, you can do it. Unfortunately, since our dear friend John S. Applegate was born and died in the 19th century, he is unlikely to have served in the Revolutionary War or have a Revolutionary War pension file. So we are going to search a famous New Jersey soldier named Oliver Cromwell of Burlington County. Oliver lived to almost 100 years old in the 1850 census. He bragged about being a drummer in the Revolution. He listed that as his occupation. In 2022, he was recently honored by the DAR as a patriot. They put a plaque up at his house, which is very cool. And he is one of the lauded soldiers of color here in New Jersey. So if you are curious about Oliver Cromwell, I just did a genealogy research stories class on him that is recorded. But I just wanted to show you very quickly what this collection looks like. You can click on the image and it opens the film strip view, or it will in a second. His Revolutionary War pension file is fascinating. It includes a newspaper article celebrating his 100th birthday and talks about his Revolutionary War service. We are not going to look at that. I'm just going to select his 1817 pension application and show you that once again, you can save this individual page. You are able to zoom in so that you can read the fine print better. And you can hop around between the various pages. So that's all I really wanted to talk about when it comes to Heritage Quest. Again, if anybody would like to look at the Jersey Clicks page during the Q&A, just let me know. And if you will bear with me for about 10 more minutes, we are going to look at Family Search. And I have 3 things that I would like to show you. I'm going to try to be brief. Oh shoot, it logged me out. That's annoying. Ancestry or Family Search, I'm sorry, used to have a keep me signed in for 2 weeks feature. And they've apparently done away with that, which is a little bit annoying. I was able to log in, navigate away from this before, and then just get right in same day, same browser, but apparently it times out now. Okay, so let me go back here. Again, this is our last free resource. You do have to create a free account with your email to use. Family Search is the genealogy branch of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, aka the Mormons. Most of their records are freely available. There are some restrictions. They always tell you what they are. So just be aware. What I found, just like on Ancestry, when you do that general search for the records across all of Ancestry, you get tons of noise. I don't like that, so I like going into the individual collections. There are also many digitized image collections that are of manuscripts that are not name indexed. They're just made available as a collection. So it's kind of like going through a roll of digital microfilm. Specifically for New Jersey, the county office records, which includes deeds, wills, and some other useful records, are digitized. Many of them, with few exceptions, are name indexed. They're just hosted on these images. So I want us to look at those just so you are aware. It is possible that there is a browsable collection where you can look for your ancestor. We're going to do a place search in the catalog. We are going to look for those non-name index digital image collections, and we are going to look at the Family Search Wiki. Family Search Wiki is going to be really important when we are trying to figure out, where do I find collections to research? Are they online? Are they at a repository? How do I get to them? How are they organized? Family Search Wiki might give us this particular information. I am going to try to be brief because I do already have a pre-recorded tutorial available on Family Search. It's about half an hour. I go much slower than I'm going right now, and I cover things a little bit more thoroughly than I'm going to in the next couple minutes. Because I do want to get to your questions, I'm just going to quickly show you things. So once you are logged into your account, and remember, this is free, it's available to you 24/7 from home. Again, we're going to be following our New Jersey friend, John S. Applegate. Remember, you can use my logic and apply it to another kind of place search. Also, when I go over the Family Search Wiki, I think for those of you doing non-New Jersey research, that's going to be incredibly valuable, because that's the first place I go when somebody says, oh, hey, Regina, I am looking for a deed in Butler County, Pennsylvania. How do I find that? And I say, I don't know. And I go to the Family Search Wiki, and that usually tells me. So that's a resource that I'm going to highly recommend you actually start with, but we are going to end with it because it's the one that I want to stick in your brains. Okay, so for search, most people will want to do records, and doing a general record search is just like doing that begin searching on Ancestry Library Edition. Very similar. The search interface doesn't look exactly the same, but similar. But again, we've established I like those individual collections. I find they are more accurate and they give me less noise. I like doing place searches, but if you are looking for something specific, like for instance, if you are looking for a digitized family history and you want to search it, you could see if you could search that resource by titles and see if Family Search has a digitized copy that you could use. You can also do a subject or keyword search. You can do a search by surname as well. But we are going to do a place search because I want to see where in New Jersey, what New Jersey collections on FamilySearch.org I can use to find our friend John S. Applegate. So we've got United States, New Jersey, and we are going to search again. You can search for a county, you can search for a town, you can search for a country, you can search for a province, you can search for a region, you can search for a big city. You can use that place search to do all of that. So what I want to say about using these collections is not everything in here is digitized. You do have the option to restrict your availability to online. So that might be a good thing for us to do. We can update our listing. And then it gives us an alphabetical listing by subject of what collections Family Search has available for New Jersey. I always find that starting with vital records in New Jersey is the best search strategy. For other places, there might be a better search strategy. So, but that's always what I do first, regardless of where I'm looking. I see if there are any kind of vital records. So I'm going to head straight there. Now, we did find marriages because remember the May of 1848 to May of 1878 marriages for New Jersey are digitized on Ancestry, but one of the county records collections that is named index are the county marriages. Now, these do not provide the same level of biographical information as the state vital records do, but they can help us establish a date. And you do through this collection get access to the images if you select them. So I'm going to click on the county marriages, and you scroll down and it's nice. It's kind of like the archives database page because it tells you what all is covered in this database. And then you can click here to get to the search interface. And I'm just going to show you this real quick, just so you know what a collection search screen looks like. So let's try John S. and Applegate. We know he was Monmouth County, New Jersey. Okay, so let's search him and let's see what we find. And if there are any records here. And you'll notice right away, it does give us a way to limit our search results. What is very interesting is that they have father data for some of these, which is pretty cool. Now we can rule out some of these right away because we know probably he got married when he was a young man, sometime maybe in the 1860s. And I don't see anything. Ooh, there's a B Applegate, but that's not the right one. We want S, or we want John Applegate as well. And a lot of these are too early. So we could potentially restrict over here to find what we're looking for. But just out of curiosity, I'm going to click on this. And we can see, okay, so they're making us go to either a family history center or an affiliate in order to see the image, although it is digitized. So that's interesting. Although we get all of the biographical information from this, but I just wanted to quickly show you what a collection search screen looks like. And then remember, I said, particularly for New Jersey, although I would imagine this is the case for many places, there are manuscript collections available that are not name indexed. So you can't search specifically for your ancestor's name. Now, in New Jersey, the most useful of these collections are held at the county level. So for the purposes of today's demonstration, I'm going to do a county level search. What I would actually encourage you to do, if you are looking for a particular record type, I would actually not come right here first. I would go on the Family Search Wiki for the place you're researching and see at what level are records stored at the municipal level? Are they stored at the county level? Are they stored at the state level? And then I would come back here and I would do a search based on that. So, like for instance, New York City has its own municipal archives. It has its own vital records that are separate from New York State. So, if I were looking for that, I might then come in here and search New York City. Whereas if I were looking for county records out in upstate New York, I might search for the county. I might also try to search the town too, but more likely a bunch of small towns, it's probably more likely that they're organized by county records, but the Family Search Wiki would confirm whether or not that is the case. So we are going to do Monmouth, whoops, County, New Jersey. We're going to click search image groups. And remember, these are not name indexed. So we are not going to be able to search by a name. You can restrict to a particular municipality, but since we know that the records that we are looking for are stored at the county record, at the county level, we do not want to do that in this case. Instead, we are going to go into life event and select legal. And legal covers like deeds, wills, real estate, all kinds of stuff. So we're going to click this. And just for example, we're going to look at all the deed books we possibly can. You always want to include the grantor and grantee indexes if you are looking at deeds and if they are available, because that will give you a citation so you can go into the deed books and find what you're looking for right away. I will say that a lot of the individual deed records do themselves have the built-in indexes, but using the grantor grantee indexes are going to save you a whole lot of time. And I can scroll through the rest of this list and see if I think anything else is appropriate. In this case, because I know the records really well, I know that these 4 subject area are going to have exclusively the deed books, which is what I personally want to look at. So we're going to click update. And we are going to look at the grantee deed index. And this is, again, just real quick so that I can show you what this looks like. But let's say we're looking for Applegates buying land. Grantees are the people who are buying land. Grantors are the people who are selling land. And we can see this is the A file. And let's go to the last page and we will see what kind of Applegates we have on here. Again, this is a very common name in Monmouth County. Good New Jersey name. Raise your hand in chat if you're an Applegate. That'll be fun. So our first example, we can see an Annie L. Applegate in 1887 purchasing land from William Kramer and his wife. Ux or Uxer means wife. And then we have a citation. So this deed is published in book, which is what Liber means, 421, and it gives you the page number. No, stop it, touchpad. That's not what I want you to do. Where's Annie? 421, page 482. So we can note that down. We see we have some other Applegates over here. If we were interested in that, we could collect the citations for our Applegates. And then we could return back to our listing of all the books, find that particular deed book, go in and navigate to that page number. So all of them look remarkably the same. They all have this film strip print. You can go in, you can attach to a family tree. You are able to either use your snipping tool, screen capture to capture this page and save an image. You could take a picture with your phone to save an image. There are all kinds of ways to do this. So I highly recommend using this collection. However, I want you to actually use the Family Search Wiki first, and that's what we are going to talk about next. So if we go back to search, and again, I know I'm going really fast. Just a reminder, I do have that much longer tutorial, which I linked in your handout. And once we get to the Q&A, which we will in just 2 more minutes, if you want me to go back and show you any of the features here, just let me know. I'm happy to. So the Family Search Wiki, as I mentioned, is great for when you are a complete novice. You don't know what's out there and you don't know where or how you are going to find information for your particular location, a topic. Like say, for instance, you found out that you have Quaker ancestors and you didn't know that and you have no idea about how to find, Quaker religious records, and you didn't even know that they were also called the Society of Friends, and they sometimes refer to themselves as Friends rather than Quakers. And So you might learn that from the Family Search Wiki. So that might be something useful. You might learn if you were from West Jersey or Eastern Pennsylvania that the Philadelphia Yearly Meeting collects those particular resources, and the repository for all Philadelphia Yearly Meeting members is Swarthmore's Friends History Library. It's Swarthmore College. It's right on the main line outside of Philly. So you would probably go there to find Quaker religious records if your ancestors' meeting was part of the Philadelphia Yearly Meeting. Let's just say, for example. But again, I'm a big fan of using this for places. So what we could do is we could do a search on Monmouth County, and we can get information on what records are available at the county level. Some of this may lead back to the state. What's nice is that there's usually a content listing. So if we want to find a particular subject, we most certainly can. There are vital records. There's a list of cities in Monmouth. There may be a nice map. So we could see potentially how far apart Red Bank and Middletown are if we're determining whether or not it might be realistic for John S. Applegate to move from Red Bank to Middletown between 1870 and 1880. Who knows? You'll notice they have a list of research facilities, websites, research guides. Some places it does vary from place to place. They do give you a listing of some online records or transcription projects. They give you digitized collections or indexes wherever possible. So this is something that is incredibly useful. I've used it time and time again. Again, before you hop on Family Search, and especially if you have looked through the card catalog and you don't see any search by name digital collections, and you're thinking to yourself, well, I wonder what else Family Search has, but maybe it's not indexed. I would recommend coming here first, looking up the type of records collection and where those records are stored. So maybe they're stored at the state level, maybe they're stored at the county level, maybe there's some other organizational um, logic, but you can find that out. So that way, when you go back to do the image search, you know the place name that you're going to put in, hopefully, um, and can see what's there. So that's what I wanted to cover today. I am going to stop talking now so that we will have time for some questions. I see there's a lot of activity in both the chat and the Q&A. So Andrew, questions, fire away. And again, I'm very happy to to uh to go back to different websites if you want to look at some of the features again.
All right, thank you, Regina. Yes, this just to let everyone know, this program is being recorded. A link will be emailed to everyone once it is available on our YouTube channel, and I will also post the handout again in the chat for anybody to download in case they missed it. Any update on New Jersey death indexes from 1914 to 1916 timeframe? Last I had looked online, the indexes were not available or found. So any update?
Nope. I'm sorry. No, no update. They're still lost. Yeah. I have not heard anything else. Um, but from what I understand, when the records were transferred over to the archives, those were missing. Otherwise, they would have released them when they got the Oprah request.
I have not been to the archive or in over. I have been over to the archives twice a few years back. I could not find my uncle's birth in 1910 and death in 1913. He only lived to the age of 3. Will his gravesite name be the same as his records? My maternal family's last name has also many last names. Any suggestions?
Let's see. So he only lived to be 3 years old. You've already gone through year by year the births and the deaths. I'm kind of surprised he didn't at least have a death certificate. I'm not 100% surprised that he didn't necessarily have um, a birth certificate. And you've checked the New Jersey death indexes online are still missing, I believe, for that time period. I think for 1913 at least they are. So that's not going to help you checking the indexes online. He had no reason to get a delayed birth certificate because he did not live long enough to get it. Um, the only thing that I can think to suggest is maybe also try searching by his first name in the records because sometimes they're misindexed and they're accidentally filed under the first name. Also, it is very possible if the name was often confused or mistaken or spelled many, many different ways, that it was misindexed. Um, and then you would just have to go through all of the 1913 stuff by hand to see if you could find it. Unfortunately, a lot of little kids can really slip through the cracks, even when there, is an official thing in place. I would say if family lore says that he was incredibly ill and he was placed in a hospital and he died in a hospital, he should have some kind of death record. And that's where I would suggest going and trying those different search strategies within the death records collection. Also, too, if he died at the very beginning or the very end of the year, make sure you either check the preceding year or the following year, just to make sure if he died in December, he wasn't accidentally filed the following year, because that's a somewhat common occurrence as well. So I hope that at least helps get you started. If you want to email and ask me that same question, I can write all this up for you as well.
All right, I just put Regina's email into the chat.
Yep, and it's up on
Uh,
your screen too.
can you search land records by address or only by name search? I believe this goes back to the state archives.
No, it's a name search only. You can do a location search. And remember, like in the colonial era, if we're talking about that era, they did not have street addresses back then. They were probably using markers, or the settlements were pretty small, so everybody knew where everybody else lived. Um, I don't know when house numbers became a thing, if that was something used in cities and it generally spread out. That might be something that the Family Search Wiki could tell us. Um, but if we are talking colonial era and the early land records database, yes, you can search by name. You can search by ethnicity. There is an interesting sub-collection of African American, not land transactions, but transactional business, shall we say, in some of the early land records. So if you go in and you search by ethnicity, you may see some things. There is also a great collection, and this was a very specific project of mine of Native American land transactions and how they were paid. I made sure to record that information when I worked on those particular deeds and provide an abstract of those for the acreage. And I also made sure that the people's names were actually recorded because they had done, the Writers Project of America had done an index in the 1930s, and they stripped parties who were not white of their names and just classified them as Indians rather than recording their names. So I made sure in the early land records database that those people's names went back into them. What's interesting is William Nelson's Patents and Deeds Index does not strip people of their names. And that was done much earlier than the WPA indexes, the colonial conveyances. Now, when you are doing modern deed research with the county offices, you will have to check their online databases. I have those linked on the genealogy research guide, and you can see the link down below. You'll have this in your slides. It's right here. You may be able to search by a property address on those, but those are for modern deeds, not historic or ancient deeds.
What type of court records are available on the New Jersey site? Would there be records of someone convicted of assault and battery in the late 1800s?
Possibly. Now, the Supreme Court database goes up to the mid 1800s. The Supreme Court and the records that are displayed on that site at the time, it was functioning as like a higher appeals court. So there is a surprising mediocrity of these cases. Like one of the most common case types in the civil lawsuits where you would sue somebody else, not a criminal conviction, was something called trespass on the case. And usually what that referred to was two neighbors and one person accidentally, or maybe on purpose, but property lines were very undefined at the time, and people could own huge tracts of land, but somebody would accidentally, and let's just assume this for the best intentions, they accidentally went onto their neighbor's property and chopped down some of their trees for lumber. And then the neighbor found out and sued them for that. That's a really common case type back then. So you would be surprised by what you could find back then. Again, Supreme Court case files go up to the mid 18th century. If it's later, or mid 18th, mid 19th century, aka mid 1800s. If it's later, like if it's 1880s, 1890s, I would then check with the county clerk's office, because the county clerk is the recorder of clerk proceedings, of court proceedings for the particular county. So I would check there first. So that would be my general advice. So Supreme Court case files that index on the archives website only goes up to the mid 19th century, so about 1845-ish. It may expand beyond that slightly, but that's the kind of mean end time. The state archives, if you go in person, does have additional court records on microfilm. Some of these belong to the county, so you can only use them in person on site. You would have to go to the county clerk's office if you are abroad, or or far away and unable to travel to the state archives. So there are different types of court cases and court case files that are not represented. But if you are looking for a Supreme Court case file and that falls into your rough timeline, I would check the index because you never know what you're going to find considering what that court used to do versus what it does now.
If a child is stillborn, must it be given a name?
I don't know. Um, I will say that the state archives does have a stillbirth index. So if you were looking for a child who was born in New Jersey and did not make it, or was born, or who was born not alive, um, they may appear on the stillbirth index, which covers from May of 1848 through December of 1900. And I don't know, I can't remember. I think yes, but it's better to check with the archives whether or not that index extends into the 20th century. So if there are stillbirth indexes beyond the December 1901 cutoff. That's an interesting question. I don't know whether or not they would be required. And I'll bet you money that the stillbirth index might answer your question. There were a number, what I can tell you is if you look at the May of 1848 to December of 1900 birth, marriage, and death indexes and the birth indexes specifically, there are a number of unnamed children on that particular index. So, since there were live births and they were not required to be given a name, I would guess that there was no legal requirement. So my guess is no, but that's something we would need to go on Hein Online or something, and we would need to look up and see if there was a law in New Jersey requiring that. But my guess would be no. But again, more research. If you would like me to look into that for you, if you would like me to check Hein Online and see if I could find a, a specific statute from the late 19th or early 20th century about that, I'm happy to do that. Just send me an email.
Um, do you know anything about the Jersey City Hudson County records that are unavailable for research because the state took them out of circulation due to corruption?
Oh, that story. I've forgotten a lot of it. I do know that there is a brand new index for those Jersey City births now. I think it was released last year or maybe the year before at some point. Um, and they what they did is they worked with the Office of Vital Statistics and Registry um, to make those records available, and they published their indexes, so you can now search those. And I I can't remember if you can get them locally now, like if the registrar is allowed to issue them again or if they're just making the index available so that you can go to the Department of Health and get your records more easily. Again, if you send me an email, I can jog my own memory on that and I I can link you to the page on I think it's either the Jersey City local registrar or there's a link on Hudson County. I haven't looked at it in a really long time because I think this happened a couple years ago. But if again, if you send me an email, I'm happy to do some exploring and send you the link that I remember. Hopefully it's still there. Hopefully it wasn't pulled down again.
Alrighty, I don't see any more questions. So I think we can close it there. Anything you want to end with, Regina?
Everybody, I know I threw a lot of information at you. Remember, um, I am happy to answer any questions you may have. Um, and don't forget, there is a tutorial for you on Family Search that I have linked here. And I go a little bit slower and I'm not in a rush because I'm trying not to take too much time. So if you want to redigest some of the information on Family Search, it is available. And as always, I am happy to answer any questions. I will say this week, please be patient with me. I have a number of genealogy questions that I'm currently working on. So it may take me a couple days to respond to everybody, but I am happy to hear from you. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have. And thank you so much for coming and hanging out today and listening to me blather on about these resources, which I think are really cool and useful, and I want you to know about.